Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is Mark, and on today's show, Flashpoint gets some casting news, so does Wonder Woman, and we have brand new pictures of some guy who likes to fix cable. Who's joining me today, Ashley?
Also here is Jon Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on? I just came back from Carmel, Indiana. Had a great time there. Loved it.
Also here, Jeremy Jahns.
I just got back from Vegas, Star Trek Con. There is not a sober frame filmed of me.
Also here, Kristian Harloff.
I got back from the grocery store shopping for the family. I'm excited.
Well, we go from Carmel to shopping to Las Vegas. All of us had great weekends. Huge thanks to everybody who came to see me at the Charlotte Comedy Zone in North Carolina. But I flew there commercially. One person got to fly private jet this weekend, and that's this guy right here. What was it like, Jeremy?
Yeah,
There's rumors all over the place.
Yeah, on the totally. It was such a private jet. I walked up and they said, "Yes, Mr. Johns, we have a table right here waiting for you." It was like Alfred was across from me, and I was looking out the window, going, "As long as it takes to show the people of Gotham their city doesn't belong to the criminals and the corrupt." It was like super legit. In fact, and by super legit and private plane, I mean it was a nice small plane.
All right. Well, you
Indiana Jones style?
Yeah, we flew by map.
Loud
map.
You can actually see the red line.
Yeah,
below
you see
as
the red
fly.
line map, right.
There you go. Well, look out, Lauche and Scarecrow, because Johns is back in Gotham, and he's coming for you. All right, before we get to our first story that is right there on the rundown, we have some breaking images to talk about, and there's some pretty good ones. It is Cable, Josh Brolin, playing the role of the guy who is the son of Cyclops and a Jean Grey clone. Boy, does he look good. You're going to be seeing him in the new Deadpool movie, and Kristian, if I look that good at 50, I will be thrilled out of my mind. What do you think of these new images of Cable, played by Josh Brolin?
Fantastic. It looks really cool. It's intriguing. I think that what is intriguing to me is I'm familiar with Cable, obviously, but I think for people who are not, you see that there's so much personality in that picture alone with just that one shot of him, whatever he's telling us to shush, and he's all scarred up. There's a history there. He's hardened. I am looking forward to seeing exactly what he's going to do. And I also think that for people that are concerned with him playing both Cable and Thanos, not to be concerned, because from what you see so far, Thanos in that Avengers Infinity War trailer, he's unrecognizable. You can't even tell that it's him at all. And in this, even though obviously you can see his face, it's still, this guy's a great actor, and I think he's going to bring exactly what we're looking for to the character of Cable. So I love this picture. I think it's great.
Yeah, Jon Schnepp, I know you're probably anticipating seeing these images. You're a big Cable fan. What do you think? Do they live up to your hype?
They do, actually. I mean, they're kind of exactly what I was hoping they would be. They're like true to the character. They look exactly like, oh, Josh Brolin's playing Cable, and there he is playing. He's got the glowing eyes, got the scars, he's got the iron, cyborg arm. So I was very pleasantly surprised when they finally came out. I was like, exactly better than I was hoping for.
Yeah, really. I mean, this looks like a nice amalgamation of every character Arnold Schwarzenegger has ever played in his entire career. Yeah. It looks like the Terminator went to the sporting goods store in Commando and just loaded up. And so, Jeremy, it's like, this is what I want to see from Cable. Like Kristian said, you do get a little bit of the personality in there. And when we got to see Josh Brolin on stage at D23 talking about Avengers Infinity War, it's like, man, this guy really got jacked for the role of Thanos. And it's like, he was probably working out, doing double time in the gym, because he's got two big roles in the comic book world. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah, for Thanos, he's probably like, they'll CGI me, but for this, I got to actually work out. So he's actually beefing up for this role. He just said he was beefing up for Thanos. What I like about this is a lot of times in comic book movies, there's that when you see him on screen, you're like, oh, I guess it's that person. But a lot of times if they show you a picture of a character, 9 out of 10 times, or maybe half the time, you're like, I don't know who that is if they don't tell me who that is. If you look one look at that, you're like, that's Cable. That's absolutely Cable. I love the fact that they made a promise at the end of the first movie that they are sticking to. And just little costume things like Cable's eye always glowed, but now you see it glowing. It looks like there's a light bulb in his head, illuminating his head. I think that's great. Just the costume itself looks like super. It looks better than I anticipated it looking, so I'm looking forward to it.
That's right. I mean, you could have mistaken the fan fervor for a British Parliament when you look at the casting announcements that we might have had with Cable, whether it's going to be Pierce Brosnan or Stephen Lang, whoever you want, or even Schwarzenegger, whoever you wanted as Cable. When you look at these pictures, it's like Josh Brolin's he's the right choice to play Cable. Let me throw it over to the news desk real quick. Ashley, Wendy, are you guys huge fans of the look that Josh Brolin has as Cable?
You know, I'm not familiar with Cable, but seeing this picture and that he's going to be in Deadpool 2, it makes me excited. He's got this crusty eye situation going on, so I'm really intrigued, and I'm excited to see what the character brings in this movie.
Ashley, now all I can see is crusty eye. Same as you, I am not as familiar with Cable, so what I am seeing in the picture that's behind Jeremy's head, I am really liking, and I've always loved Josh Brolin's performance and everything, so I have faith that he's going to bring a lot to the character.
I can't help but think of the fact that he's going to be like, I came back in time to find the cure for pink eye. That's the only reason I'm here.
That's right.
Sold.
We're maybe 5 minutes into the show today. We already have a nice hashtag, crusty eye. All right, let's go to our first official story. What do we got in store today, Ash?
While a sequel to Wonder Woman has already been slated for December 13th, 2019, with Patty Jenkins in talks to return as director, Forbes is now reporting that we will be getting even more Wonder Woman in the DCEU. The outlet states that Gal Gadot is expected to reprise her role as a Wonder Woman in the upcoming production of Flashpoint, the Flash's solo movie that was announced at this past year's Comic-Con. Fans of the series in which the movie will be based on shouldn't be surprised by her inclusion, and the movie is currently scheduled to be released sometime in 2020. Mark, what do you think about Wonder Woman possibly in Flashpoint?
I think it makes sense to lead with your strongest foot. I mean, we saw that from the Justice League trailer that we also had debut at Comic-Con, where it kicks off and you see Wonder Woman. She's a shining light in the DCU right now, so it makes sense that they would want her in as many productions as possible. And when Flashpoint comes out in 2020, you will presumably be coming off a huge success the previous year in 2019 with the Wonder Woman sequel. So I'm all for her appearing in every DCEU movie, having some sort of role, because not only do you want to see more Wonder Woman from a marketing standpoint, but you also are going to have her and Bruce Wayne factor into everything that is going on in the Justice League. I think the big question that this leaves open, Jeremy, is when Flashpoint was announced, I think everybody looked at that as maybe a nice way to change some things that are currently going on in the DCU, whether it's casting of Batman or any other thing that they want to get rid of from the previous efforts. Do you think that this inclusion of Wonder Woman means that whatever change that we get from Flashpoint, you're still going to have the same Wonder Woman we now know and love?
I think at the end of Flashpoint, we will have the same Wonder Woman. In Flashpoint, her role is very. I don't know if I can step on. Is there spoiler territory for comic books in this?
I love that you
fine?
opened it like that. Hit the button, Adam.
Okay.
Boom.
So in Flashpoint, it's an Elseworld kind of thing where events are different, and Wonder Woman and the Amazons are fighting Aquaman and the Atlanteans, and basically Europe or Earth is caught in the middle and is getting destroyed in this war. She is very hardcore. She's not a hero, and so when I heard that they were doing Flashpoint, I was like, they're probably not going to have Wonder Woman in there. They're not going to turn Wonder Woman into a villain right now, and then Wonder Woman's in it. And if they're going to be accurate to it, they have to make her kind of a dick. But when it gets all wrapped up, it goes back to normal. But like you said, they could use it as a way to kind of iron out or negate some of the things they didn't want to have or they no longer want to have in the DC Cinematic Universe. Because as it goes back to normal, there are certain elements that are different, and that's how they introduced New 52. So she's going to be in it. They could use it as a way to. They could use it as kind of an eraser, just like an edit. All right, that. Okay, we're perfect. We're moving on. Interested to see it. Really interested to see it. More interested to see what they do. If they commit to that, making Wonder Woman a villain for this, I think that'd be great.
Schnepp, does your analysis of this story also include spoilers?
Perhaps. Spoiler alert, put that thing back on. So, we heard The Flash originally maybe a couple months ago. It could have been a buddy film with Cyborg, time traveling around, having some fun. I think they've thrown that out, and they're going to be doing Flashpoint, obviously, now that they've announced it, Flashpoint. Wonder Woman, I see it probably maybe told more so from Flash's perspective. Obviously, it's his movie, but it will be, for all intents and purposes, Justice League 2. And I think that you're going to see a different Wonder Woman, but perhaps maybe that she'll be part of the way to get back to whatever the new rebirth will be. So I think also since Flashpoint's coming out in 2020, it's probably a good place for the DCEU to do that next change of the guard, so to speak. So I think it makes sense what we're hearing, and I'm glad that Wonder Woman's in it.
Yeah, Kristian, are you on board with the speculation that this Flashpoint movie could be like the DCU taking an Etch-a-Sketch and just shaking the crap out of it? And then what does the involvement of Wonder Woman do to that speculation?
Well, as far as the shaking, I think that it's very similar to what Days of Future Past did, and it depends on how they do it and exactly what they want to move around, and it's possible they have that device should they want to use it, and it depends on what events Justice League are going to paint for us. But as far as Wonder Woman being in it, it makes sense. And the same way that when they released this new trailer for Justice League at Comic-Con, she's the first thing that you see. It's the hot ticket right now. She's the one that that movie did a lot of good for the DCEU, so why wouldn't you? She's your biggest star right now. She really is, because it's the problem that whether or not you think there's a problem or not with Ben Affleck as Batman, it's out there. So I happen to be on the side where I think he's going to be back, but there are certainly a lot of people that don't. It's out there. We don't know what the hell's going on with Superman. He's going to be back. We don't know when he's going to be back. And right now, Wonder Woman is the hot ticket, so it makes sense.
That's right. Flashpoint coming out in 2020. There's a movie that's coming out a little bit before that also got some casting news. What's up, Ash?
THR reports that Marwan Kenzari, the actor who is a part of the all-star cast of the upcoming Murder on the Orient Express, is in negotiations to star as the villain Jafar in Disney's live-action remake of Aladdin. Will Smith is top-lining the pick as the genie, while Mena Massoud will play the title character of Aladdin, a street rat who pretends to be a prince in order to win the hand of Princess Jasmine, played by Naomi Scott. The report also mentions that former SNL comedian Nasim Pedrad has also landed the role of Mara, a handmaiden and friend to Jasmine, which was created specifically for the new movie. A release date has still not been determined. Kristian, what do you think about the casting for Jafar in Aladdin?
I'm not familiar with this guy, but just looking at him, he's got a good look. I can see him kind of made up as Jafar. I just saw, when you're whatever you're looking at and on the internet, and you start to see like the things start to pop up, and it's like 10 Disney characters if they looked like real people, and one was Jafar, and I'm looking at this guy. I was like, it kind of looks like exactly what I was looking at that picture. So
you click those things?
What?
You
yeah,
click those things when they come
That was a really cool one.
It's a
that
good
was a
one.
really
Yeah,
cool
they
one.
had one of Ursula, which was really. I mean, yeah, I always.
And then you spend
go
like
down the rabbit
20
hole.
minutes going through ads. Like,
Yeah.
why is it taking so long to get to
Yeah.
the one that I want to see?
I clicked on one yesterday that was, what did John Ritter know about Don Knotts that he didn't reveal
That's
during
what I'm
Three's
saying.
Company?
It gets you. It gets you. But Mova, I'm with you. I still think that Mova should have been cast as Jasmine.
Yes, you're so right. You're so
But
right.
we get. I think that this entire cast is coming along. I'm encouraged by it. I don't know this guy's body of work yet, but if I'm going solely off the look, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, and Kenzari seems to be one of these guys that is a rising star in the acting community. I mean, Murder on the Orient Express is filled with big names, and to have him be involved in that gives him some credibility, I think, with the rest of the world. And I'm just happy that this is not Tom Hardy, which is what the rumors were a couple months ago, that I want faithful casting of this adaptation. Guy Ritchie's involvement is something that Kristian postulated a couple weeks ago, that maybe that's why they're having some difficulty between what Guy Ritchie's vision is and what Disney wants to do with this movie. But this casting, and also the casting of Nasim Pedrad, I think that that's a new character, but she was really good on SNL, and I think that she's going to add a lot of comedy and some levity to this production. So this is all good news in the world of Aladdin here today. In my eyes, how about your crusty eyes, Jeremy Jahns?
I personally, it's crusty eye singular, and I really liked it. I like the casting. I'm with Kristian over there, where it's like, I don't know much about his body of work, but if you look at his IMDb, it starts to heat up after the Murder at the Orient Express. My knee-jerk reaction was like, that dude looks a bit young. And then I realized it's not that he was young, it's that I was really young when I watched Aladdin, and all these characters, like Jafar, is that age. That's just the age he is. So it's just, I'm just getting old as shit. That's what I'm trying to say. And I really like the casting.
Well, Jeremy's dying slowly. That's good news. How about you, Jon Schnepp?
Yeah, I thought it's not going to be animated though, right?
No.
It's actually going to be
live
live
action.
action.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I guess I'm in.
And it's going to be totally live action. Not
Yeah,
like
no,
what-
I know nothing about this guy. I'm looking forward to seeing Orient Express. So good for him.
It is kind of tough to be like, here's what I think about this
Right.
guy
Right.
cast in
What
this
if he
role,
was
and
in
I know nothing
Flashpoint?
about the guy.
If he was
Right,
in
right.
Flashpoint, good for him.
All right, perfect. Yeah, perfect.
What if Flashpoint changes this casting? Does that do anything to you?
Good for you.
Oh, good for you. All right.
All right, well, good for a lot of people in Aladdin, but not so much for one of the big movies that opened this past weekend. Ashley, what's the news?
It's Monday, which means it's time for the weekend box office report. Sony's The Dark Tower took the #1 spot at the weekend box office with an estimated $19.5 million. million, well below expectations, while Dunkirk took the number 2 spot with an estimated 17.6 million, dropping only 34% in its third weekend in release for a domestic total just shy of 135 million. The Emoji Movie finished in third with an estimated 12.35 million, dropping 50% in its second weekend for a domestic total just under 50 million in 10 days of release. Landing in the number 4 spot was Girls Trip, which finished with an estimated 11.4 million, dropping just 42% in its third weekend with a domestic total now at over 85 million. And rounding out the top 5 was Kidnap, which took an estimated 10.2 million on its first weekend in release. Jeremy, thoughts on the weekend box office report?
August is here, folks. Yeah. It's arrived, and it's arrived with a vengeance. The fact that it's even number 1, I'm like, the fact that it only made $19 million, I saw that coming, that it was going to be a box office disappointment. But to know that even with that low number, it's still number 1, that just kind of shows you the weekend it was last weekend. It was just kind of a Kidnap is number 5. It made, what, $7? Yeah, like $10 million, you know? Emoji Movie's still on the top 10. I don't like that. I like the fact that Girls Trip's on there, because I didn't see Girls Trip until recently, and I actually really enjoyed Girls Trip, surprisingly. What else we got on there? That's it. Emoji Movie should be burned in a bus fire. It shouldn't even be on there. It is a bummer. It's
you have to kill everybody else on the bus?
No, just all the emojis.
Oh, just the
line up
emojis
all the
on the
emojis
bus.
like, we're
Okay.
going to get ice cream, and then just light it on fire. Just make it happen. But it is kind of a bummer, because I felt like with it coming out that the Stephen King adaptations might be crawling out of its wreckage, and it just really reminded me of the 90s. You know, that time where you're like, that's not really the book, and sure, studio, sure. And it feels like we're reverting back. Still looking forward to it, because it's a completely different scenario, completely different hands on the property. But they should have broken this one up and been like, this is just one book and it's longer, or just did the HBO thing or the streaming service or the TV thing. But whatever they did with Dark Tower, they went the wrong way about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's one thing that is not a dead kid that can make Pennywise smile, it's the fact that the Dark Tower opened now and not in a couple weeks, when it really could have run into, oh, that Stephen King movie wasn't good, so I don't want to see the next one. Because the It marketing campaign has been fantastic, which is a polar opposite to what we saw with the Dark Tower. When we kept waiting for a trailer, we're not sure what we're going to get. I thought the trailer was fine. I know a lot of people named Jon Schnepp and others did not care for the trailer at all. I was telling you, I was in the Carolinas, so didn't get a chance to see the Dark Tower or one of the other wide releases this past weekend, Detroit. That bummed me out, because that only made about $7 million in its wide release after a promising start on limited screens. So the fact that you have a huge name like Catherine Bigelow directing it and John Boyega in it, and it's based on true source material, maybe people just didn't have the appetite for it this weekend. But Girls Trip and Dunkirk really holding strong. That's really impressive to see that. In the Emoji Movie, sorry kids, it is going to make a profit, because it only cost $50 million to make. But I think the big takeaway here, Kristian, is that the Dark Tower, if you have a good marketing campaign, people are going to want to go see your movie. I think this didn't happen. What does this do to other Dark Tower prospects going forward?
Well, it's not just the marketing with Dark Tower. It's also, people were talking about it. There were articles written about it beforehand of why it was a problem already. And that kind of stuff, people start talking about it. And it's like, well, what about that Dark Tower? They're like, Dad, I read something about that movie. It stinks. And
Is your dad Nick Nolte?
He looks like Nick Nolte sometimes. He does. But the movie itself, I do think, and we were just talking about this off air, I do think that they're going to move forward with the TV series, and I think that it was announced because I think they were tracking this thing and knew they're bracing themselves that it was going to be disappointing, and that's why they went out and said Mazzara is going to come out. They're going to do this series, and I think that it should, because in my review, I was saying the same thing, that it just felt like a TV series with so much more to explore, and I hope that they do. I think that was the benefit of making it so short that I kind of want to see more. The two big stories I feel are obviously Girls Trip, which is just crushing it, and I think I'm the only one who hasn't seen that movie yet. I really want to see it, hear great things, and I'm glad that good comedies are getting the recognition that they deserve. Because again, I trust all you guys' opinions, and I haven't heard a bad thing about this film, so I can't wait to see that one. Detroit is a conversation that people should have, because I think it is similar to the conversation that we had with Scorsese's Silence. The movie itself, from what everyone says, is this gut punch of a movie. It's not why people are going to see movies right now. However, I think a movie like that maybe would have benefited from being on Amazon or Netflix. A movie that just got released on Netflix is it's called Message for a King, and it's with Chadwick Boseman, not Chadwick Boseman, but Chadwick Boseman. And it's a movie. I read the script when I was at Silver Pictures years ago, and I was, where is this? And back then they're not making that kind of movie with, $10 million budget, whatever it is. I don't think that movie does well if it comes out in a theater next week. Mm-hmm. And it now on Netflix now lives. You're going to see more and more. Detroit should have lived there. And I know why they're doing it, because they want to get the Oscar buzz for Catherine Bigelow. But I think we're in such a transitional period right now in the streaming that you're going to start seeing, because of box office disappointments like Detroit did, you're going to see bigger directors like a Catherine Bigelow, Scorsese, start to take their platforms and realize the big, movies, we're in this comic book age now, right? But movies like the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Star Wars and all this, we know that if they're done right, are pretty much a sure thing as far as box office goes. These smaller movies are going to start living. They're going to even stop. People are going to stop even going for a theatrical release because of examples like this. Now, comedies, again, like Girls Trip and that Kidnap movie, $10 million for that thing is actually kind of impressive.
It is.
I bet you it cost
very
$2 million.
impressive. Yeah.
Because
I
considering it was like the 8th of an 8, she's done 8 Kidnap movies or whatever it is too.
Right.
It's like, again, I should just get a babysitter. But other than that, it's very interesting. But you're right, Jeremy. August is here.
That's very good advice.
It's funny. I totally forgot about Detroit, and I'm not going to go. I mean, you obviously filled in everything there is to say about it, but I totally forgot that it came out this weekend because I saw it a week prior, so I kind of saw it as a last weekend movie, and that is depressing that it didn't make more money. But you bring up a good point about the streaming shit.
All right, Jon Schnepp, your turn to weigh in on the box office and what it means for Flashpoint.
Well, I mean, I'll just use Detroit as an example as to what you're talking about, Kristian. That Kidnap beat Detroit is telling. I mean, that an action kind of genre picture got enough seats, people in the seats, more so than an important possible Oscar, maybe get nominated for Oscar, very, divisive film, that it's not even in the top 5. It's telling not just that it's August, but that movies and the way movies and what movies are about has been, the changes of guard has happened mainly because of streaming services. Yep. It's fun to see that a small kind of like, I'm in the trunk of a car movie again is once again in the top 5. We joke about whatever. Halle Berry keeps making these films where she's chasing after a car, she's in a cab, something. People go see those movies. So people like to go see action films. People love to see raunchy comedies that are good, like Girls Trip. Emoji, I can't even explain that. Whatever. There's kids must see movies, I guess.
I think it's also, I mean, you can pin some of this on escapism too, because there's a lot of scary things in the real world, and there's a lot of things that we're looking at, and a movie that is based on real things that happened 40 years ago is something that might not be appetizing for everybody, which is why it's all the more shocking that a film like Dunkirk is doing so well at the box office, because that is a visceral war experience. I know the name Christopher Nolan carries a lot of weight, and people enjoy seeing World War II movies, maybe because it's a little more detached from the events of Detroit. But these things are both not easy watches, but I hope that they get an audience, because I haven't seen Detroit yet, but everything I'm hearing about it, it's a pretty powerful film. It's got a 2-hour and 20-minute runtime, which is why I wasn't able to see it last night. And I think that maybe that's something that is harder to sell to people, being in the theater for that long, whereas Dunkirk is a much shorter flick. But we'll have to see how that plays out week to week. But I think that you have a point there with the streaming services, where it's just easier to get movies out there on a streaming service, and it doesn't cost all of that production and all of that advertising budget to get it onto a Netflix or an Amazon. So,
well, I've got a question about Dark Tower. Is this series that they've announced, is it tied in with Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba, or is it like a totally
Well, I
different?
don't want to get completely spoilery, but it has there's
saying,
8 books. It's 8 books total. This movie was kind of mixture of the first one, but there's a lot of other things happening that they just completely brushed over. The series, you're talking about the series.
I'm saying, but I'm saying is it going to be tied in? Like, are these characters going to be in
they're saying it is, but again, there are more details that come out. Like, and you said beforehand, we'll see if they even go through with it.
Right.
All right, let's go to buy or sell. This is the part of the show where Ashley's going to give us a premise, and today it involves outer space, and we'll say whether we buy it or sell it. What's up first?
With Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 arriving on Blu-ray this month, Collider's own Steve Weintraub recently sat down for a chat with James Gunn and got a couple updates on plans for the third Guardians film. The director revealed that it will be a little more than a year before they get started on filming, and though they haven't announced the release date yet, Gunn knows about when the basic time will be. Gunn also revealed the third movie will essentially be a third act of a trilogy and promises a lot of answers. The truth is, the first movie is the first act, the second movie is the second act, and the third movie is the third act. So I'm tying a lot of stuff together in the third film. We get a lot of answers on a lot of different things, so doing that in an elegant way takes a little bit of grace and elegance. It's more challenging in that respect writing the third movie than the second movie. Schnepp, buy or sell Gunn's comments about the third Guardians movie as a third act in a trilogy?
That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, though he's writing the third act for the Guardians, he's also opening up the cosmic universe of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think, like, even though this might be the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there might not be a Volume 4. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of these other storylines. Like, I mean, he's been dropping hints about including characters like Quasar. He's been talking about, obviously, we're going to see Adam Warlock. So there's so many of these other characters that he has a soft spot for. He included Mantis. Come on, where's Moondragon, James Gunn? What's going on? So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to add to the third act of Guardians, and what is he going to open the door to all these other movies.
That's right. I mean, you want to close a trilogy because in Hollywood, trilogy is the golden buzzword. We got to have 3 great movies and then you're done. But you're not always done. I mean, we saw a pretty good trilogy with the Apes, and we're not sure if that's done yet. Return of the Jedi was a great close of that trilogy. That ain't done yet. When Return of the King ended, we still went back to that universe for more movies. Why? Well, one of the reasons is because they're very profitable to make. So I can't imagine that a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be the last time you see Guardians of the Galaxy headline a movie. They may have other adventures, or there may be critical events that happen to them in Volume 3 or in Infinity War that really change the dynamic. But I sell that this is going to be the last time we ever see a Guardians movie. I also sell James Gunn having that picture. Was that like is that like picture day? At like 6th grade, like his hair is all like jacked up. That looks like in Light Touch when the guy gives you the comb to like comb your hair right before, and that's pretty much what every class picture for me looked like. How about you, Jeremy Jahns?
Absolutely the same kind of class picture.
Did you have
Mark?
that cool little?
Nope. Do I have that right now?
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I do.
Yeah,
I'm not
look
gonna
at
lie. Don't move. It'll stay there.
Superman curl.
Fuck,
Tiger Beat.
But anyhow, get off the hair. Onto the trilogy comments. I buy it because it's kind of a no shit kind of thing, you know? That's how trilogies work, you know? It's the first one's the first one, the second one is the climax, the third one is the conclusion of a trilogy. And that's the way every trilogy is ever. That's like if
they made another Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, then the trilogy goes away, but the trilogy is still the trilogy.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of like, I feel like if Christopher Nolan came out and said, "Okay, well, The Dark Knight Rises is the third act," it's like, yeah, I know. You know, I know that's how it goes. So in no part in my brain did I ever think that the third Guardians movie wouldn't be the third act. So I buy it, but that doesn't mean they're not going to make a 4, because every trilogy, well, not every trilogy, but a lot of trilogies lately, Scream got a 4, Indy got a coaster that I use while I watch the Indiana Jones trilogy. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me, but I don't know why it's a shocking thing.
Kristian Harloff, your thoughts on James Gunn's comment?
Yeah, I buy them. I think that because we're closing up with whatever it's the third one as we know them, because whatever happens in Avengers Infinity War, a lot's going to go down there, because the difference with this movie is that the first two, they were separate from the MCU. They were really separate. There wasn't a lot that kind of tied us into it. That's going to change after Infinity War, because we even see it in this trailer that you will eventually see soon. The opening shot is of Star-Lord and everyone together when Thor comes in. That's how they start. So those events have happened with them already. So they're going to have to kind of combine that, or at least acknowledge it at one point, whether it's 3 or then spin them off to do something later on. I don't think it's the last time we'll ever see them in Marvel movies, but as a third one, maybe this is the last story that James Gunn wants to tell. That's certainly possible, but I certainly believe and buy the fact that this is the last, this is the next one, because he wanted to do it, because I think at one point he said they weren't even going to do a volume 3. And now the fact that they're doing it, it ties it up. So yeah, I buy the comments.
All right, well, Ashley, I need you to reach way down in the bottom of the news barrel and see if there's anything else Guardians related that we could possibly talk about today.
I think there is. Sticking with one more Guardians story, to celebrate the release of the Blu-ray, James Gunn and Marvel released a trippy new music video for the song Inferno, a special song created especially for the Blu-ray release that is co-written by Gunn and score composer Tyler Bates. The video stars the entire cast of Guardians alongside David Hasselhoff, with Gunn and his brother making cameos as well. The video will appear as a special feature on the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Blu-ray and arrives in stores on August 22nd. Mark, buy or sell the video Inferno for the Volume 2 Blu-ray release?
I buy it. I totally sell the fact that that's the reason why now I have the Star Wars disco song by Mako stuck in my head, and it doesn't leave. Once that song gets in my head, it's going to be there until Thursday. I mean, this was a really funny, entertaining video. It's a great, inventive way to sell it on Blu-ray. And Kristian, I'm curious as to your thoughts about it, because I know you thought the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 might have leaned too heavily on comedy and not as much fun action adventure that we got from the first one. Do you think this video is an indication that they just went entirely too goofy?
Not for what they were trying to do. I buy this video. It's supposed to be a dopey 70s video. I didn't watch the whole thing because I got it after a minute and a half. I'm like, okay, I get it, but I buy it. It wasn't for me, but I understand how it's fun, and it does absolutely sell it. And you got Hasselhoff singing around, but yeah, whatever.
I hope like when you go to your daughter's recitals and stuff like that, you stay the whole time. Like
Hasselhoff is there, I will.
I saw a minute and a half of it. It was fine.
But I got it though.
It's 3 minutes.
I was looking at it, like you said, you pulled the bottom of the barrel. Like, is this a story? I'm like, no, not really.
There's a pretty great cameo. You missed a pretty great cameo at the end there, Jeremy Jahns. How long did you make it into the video?
I watched the whole thing just enough to know that we're going to change it to a Collider viral video talk. Welcome to the first episode. With the right amount of substance abuse, I would have bought the hell out of this. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on how sober you are and at what party you're at. If you're at the right kind of party, you click this baby on, and if you can land the dance, you are the star of the night.
Ooh, perhaps a Star Trek Vegas NyQuil fever dream party?
NyQuil. Exactly what I was talking about. But yeah, sure. I'm with Kristian. I'm like, it's crazy. And the fans you'll go nuts for it. I feel like that's the 50-50. What's the over-under that people watch this more than the actual movie or vice versa, you know? Because it's an easy watch. It's insanity, folks. Welcome to the insane.
Jon Schnepp, did you enjoy the 3-minute, 30-second insanity that we got this weekend?
I did, and I mean, it's not a movie; it's a video that you could watch on YouTube right now. Can you throw up that spoiler alert, please?
Uh-oh.
The ending: Star-Lord is the silver robot. You can take it away now. You can take it away. Just, it's totally worth it. Kristian didn't know that because he didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah.
But, anyway, guys, it's only on
care.
YouTube. Waste 3.5 minutes. I enjoyed all 3.5 minutes. So.
All right. Well, we hope you're enjoying all of Movie Talk thus far. At the end of the show, we're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting them right now at Collider Video. And before we move on to Mailbag, I want to remind you guys that there's a big episode of Game of Thrones last night. And don't worry, we already got the recap up for you guys. The entire review, Talking Thrones, is up right now on the Collider Video channel. We also have Heroes and TV Talk. They're both daily, so make sure you check out the latest episodes of each one. Little 20 to 25, sometimes 30-minute nuggets daily for your viewing pleasure. And of course, an all-new Awesome Tacular is coming out this Friday, and you can check out the latest episode in the link in this vid's description, starring that young man right there, Mr. Jeremy Jahns. His hair's not always that good. Sometimes it has pie in it. Let's move on to Mailbag. This is the part of the show where Ashley's going to give us a premise, and we're going to say whether we want to answer it in the mailbag. What's up first in the mailbag?
Justin writes, now that The Dark Tower came out and it didn't open as big as the studio hoped, off a $60 million budget and with reviews saying it's not great, where will the franchise go from here? Will producers scrap a sequel? Will the TV show still move forward? Do you think they should just quit and wash their hands of the franchise? Thanks for taking my question.
It's a good question. I know we had some banter about it during the box office segment, but I think I'll put it to you guys like this. And Schnepp, I'll start with you. After seeing the box office results and the reaction to the movie, should they or should they not continue with more Dark Tower stories out there, whether it's on TV or movies?
It's hard to tell because I haven't seen the film yet, and I mean, judging from all the reviews, I hated the trailers, and I wasn't looking forward to seeing it, but I still don't know whether it's so bad it's good. Is it so bad it's good, or is it no? Everyone's like, just skip it. So I feel like I'm looking forward to it. And I think they did that right by splitting it into 2 movies. A lot of people don't even know that it is actually 2 movies. It's the young version and the older version. It's not a spoiler. The book's been out for 30 years. Relax. But so the Dark Tower's been out for a long time too. Gunslinger, all this stuff. So that it was a 2-hour, 45-minute cut that they scrimped down to 90 minutes and it still sucks. I don't know. I think they should just like ease off. There's only 100,000 other Stephen King books that you can adapt and turn into a series. So maybe do something else.
All right, Jeremy Jahns, scrap it, keep it. Where do you stand?
I'm interested to see where the TV show goes. I mean, good luck landing Idris Elba for it. I don't think they'll get Idris Elba for it, but I mean, with the recasting, I feel like it lends itself to something that allows for many, many hours to come back and tell the story. This is a lot of pages we're talking about, you know? So you can't just crush it down into a 90-minute forgettable piece of garbage. So, I mean, I feel like TV is the way to go. I feel like they should do a TV or a streaming service.
Yeah, Kristian, here's the real bummer about this is that both Elba and McConaughey are well known recently for doing great TV work. And so now maybe the sour taste of the Dark Tower movie may prevent them from wanting to do more Dark Tower projects together.
Well, I think Idris Elba's already signed on to it. So Glenn Mazzara is attached right now, the guy who did Walking Dead and also The Shield. I'm telling you, from watching this movie, I didn't watch this movie going, oh, I never want to see this. I left this movie saying, oh, there's so much that they could have explored here. And I felt like I was actually watching a TV series. And I just hope that the director is nowhere to be found in the TV series because I don't think he was able to bring it to life the way that it should have been. So I think that it should be a TV series because I'm very intrigued to find out more because I think that as you watch this movie, there's tons of times you're like, well, wait, don't just say that. Tell me about it. Like, there's so much of, like, inside of that movie, you're like, wait, you can't just tell me a little bit more about exactly what that is, whether it's a portal or this or the history behind that. And that's a good thing as far as TV goes because I want to learn more and more and more about it. It's like the Gunslinger, they have this code. What's the code? Where did that code come from? How did the Gunslingers get there? Like, elaborate on that. A television series would allow them to do that. A guy like Idris Elba would want me to, I want to see more of that. Like, if you haven't seen The Wire, watch The Wire. The guy is fantastic in it, and I still need to see Luther, but I mean, there's so much that he brings to it that I think this should be a TV series. I think the difference is with marketing for television and marketing for Netflix or HBO is that there's ways that you can absolutely promote it inside of your own programming that will get people on board and want to watch it as opposed to the tough marketing campaign that they did or did not have.
All right, the Goonies never say die, and Kristian is not giving up on the Dark Tower just yet. Let's move on to Twitter questions. Wendy has some good tweets lined up for us, we hope. What's up first, Wendy?
I hope so, too. This first one comes from TJ Dex, who writes, what has been everyone's highlight of the spring/summer so far, and what in the fall are you excited for?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think a lot of people are excited about it coming out in September. As far as the highlight of the spring-summer season, I'm going to give you one that probably everybody saw, which is Wonder Woman, and then one that not a lot of people saw, which is Slight. They're kind of in the same boat where there's like superheroes discovering their own powers in a very different world. If you have not seen Slight, make sure you guys check it out. I think a lot of you will enjoy it. It's kind of like an inner city Iron Man vibe, somebody trying to do better for themselves and their family with street magic, with some other things going on. Check out Slight if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen Wonder Woman, you're the one. So go see it. Jon Schnepp.
I'm going to say I loved Wonder Woman. I loved Spider-Man Homecoming. I loved Girls Trip. Girls Trip is really raunchy.
Yeah.
If you're in the mood to see a hardcore, raunchy comedy, go see that.
That's
laugh.
right. And it's really fun to see Tiffany Haddish in that movie because when you
Kills
talk
it.
about breakout stars, when you see them in a comedy and you're like, I need to see this person in everything now,
Yeah.
whether it was Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids or Katherine Hahn last year in Bad Moms, Tiffany Haddish has that kind of performance in Girls Trip, so definitely check it out. Jeremy Jahns, your highlights so far, and what are you maybe looking forward to this fall?
We're going to spring and summer?
Yeah.
Okay, that's after Logan, I think. So Spider-Man Homecoming, Get Out was a huge surprise. I can't remember when that came out.
It was February.
It was all right, so we're going Spider-Man
Sorry, I
Homecoming, Get Out, Logan, Apes. Those are all really good for me. I really like those. Some of them had surprises. It's been a pretty dry summer so far, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry I yelled at you. Some of us have been pent up in Coach all weekend. Didn't all get the private jet. Kristian Harloff.
Highlights of the summer are Spider-Man, Apes, and my favorite is Baby Driver. I think that was one that just kind of came out, and I was I can't wait to watch that movie again. As far as what I'm looking forward to, I think obviously The Last Jedi is the one that I want to see the most, but I also want to see Lucky. I really am looking forward to seeing that movie.
Are you talking about Logan Lucky?
No, Lucky. The one with help me out from Red Dawn. Avenge me! I can't get it. Oh my god!
Get there.
Anyway,
We're not moving on.
The guy
until
from
you get the
Down
name.
Periscope.
Yeah, and my
Kelsey
head's
Grammer?
blank.
Kelsey Grammer.
No,
Rob
He's like
Schneider?
No,
he's
my
one
head
of
is
the
my
dudes
head.
in Down
I haven't
Periscope.
eaten, so I can see his.
You didn't eat before you got on this show?
No,
The guy from
protein
Alien.
bar. Anyway, point is, it's an independent film. The guy's 90 years old, and he's going to be doing this movie. And a lot of buzz
Harry Dean
behind it.
Stanton.
Thank you, Harry Dean Stanton.
Schmodown.
Lucky is one that a lot of buzz for. And looking forward to seeing that one. And I can't believe I forgot Harry Dean Stanton.
It's okay.
Right.
I couldn't think of his name,
Sound
but he
like
is in Down Periscope.
I'm looking forward to Lucky too. Now I know that because remember the trailer. It's
Yeah.
David Lynch is in it. So
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that.
Down Periscope is not a good movie. Let's move on to our next Twitter question.
This next one comes from Jonathan Peck, who writes, do you think we'll see Iago in the live-action film? And if they do, should they recast the voice like Jason Statham as Iago?
I can't imagine you're not going to see Iago in Aladdin. It was such a scene-stealing role in the first one. It was voiced by Gilbert Godfried. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm a huge fan of Gilbert Godfried. I don't know. Gilbert Godfried is such a singular voice, it's hard to replace that. Jason Statham is interesting, but if you can't afford Statham, maybe you get the Hunger Monster over here.
I can't even do it. I can't even bailed on it. I bailed on it.
Feel it.
I can't. I'm too hungry. You know what I mean? It's just the fact that you have Statham as a parrot. I don't know.
Kristian, isn't it true?
He's got it.
I'm trying to do Godfried.
I'm available.
Yeah.
I am available.
Kick you right in the mouth. You know what I mean? But the point is, I would like to see if you got to have the parrot. I don't think you need to have him have a voice at all in this. I think that it's different from, like, say, Lion King. I think Lion King is something to where obviously you're going to have everyone talking. It's the point of the movie. The Jungle Book is something you could get away with Iago just being like this menacing bird. Whatever he's doing, you could see him flying in and be just as menacing without saying a single thing. Because Gilbert Godfrey being in there and talking, it's going to be too distracting and will not work for a live action.
We're making this movie for kids. We're not remaking Hitchcock's The Birds. We need to make the kids laugh.
Oh, wait, but it's not just the kids though too, because that's the beauty of what Disney live action has been doing lately. Is that it's a mixture of where kids can enjoy it, but it's also adults. Here's the perfect example. Like, Emoji Movie is an abomination to humans, and the fact that they are just like, it's just for kids. That's never what it should just be about. Right. It should be for the kids. It should be geared towards children, absolutely. But you should be making a movie that people can watch, that parents will want to watch. This is Aladdin and Disney. That's not their approach, is to go just for kids. So I do think you'll have darker images.
Right, but I don't think you should scare the kids with a menacing bird. They can't crack a joke or be funny every day.
I just don't think it's necessary to have that, because I think if you start having Gilbert Godfrey cracking jokes in it, it changes the tone.
I think
of the movie
Jason
completely.
Statham should be the bird.
You know what's funny? We have stuck on this one question for a while. It is a little unbalanced that Raja and Abu don't have voices and Iago does. That's a little strange, but I can see Jafar casting a spell on him that does give him a voice. But you're right, though. Gilbert Godfrey, though, that is, you either get Gilbert Godfrey or I can't imagine Iago being anything else. It's such a specific thing. Then again, they have to recast the genie, and I can't see anyone else being the genie but Robin Williams. So we'll see where it goes. But it is a balancing act of like, all right, so Godfrey is a bit abrasive, so we might need a voice that's a little more soothing but still kind of funny. And who knows? It'll I don't know, Jonah Hill. Who knows?
That's a really good point, though. It's like there's one unrecastable role in all of Disney, and that is James Earl Jones as Mufasa. So they got him back for the live-action version. And then if we thought there was another uncastable role, it would have been the genie. Mm-hmm. And Will Smith playing the genie for Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams. But I think with Iago, I mean, it doesn't have to be Gilbert Godfrey, but I think it would be fun to watch Jafar just cast a bunch of different spells on Iago with different voices until he settles on the one he likes. Mm-hmm. And then maybe one of them is Gilbert Godfrey cameoing, and then he changes it to either a Statham or a T.J. Miller, whoever the hell that they want to get to do the actual voice of Iago. But I'll bet you $5 that he has a voice. Good.
$5.
Okay, somebody get him a Pop-Tart. We got more Twitter questions to go.
Can't wait.
Wendy, what's up next?
All right, this one comes from Abigail, who writes, "Hi, what would you rather?" Thanks. Which would you rather never see again? Bruce Wayne's parents being killed or Uncle Ben's death in Spider-Man?
We've seen both these stories a number of times. I mean, if they're done well, then I go for it again. Oh boy, I thought we were gonna get out of this one, Jeremy. I really thought that. This story in particular, the shit rat just pooping all over Uncle Ben and the Wayne family.
Don't need to see either of them.
We'll see you guys in the Nut Job too.
Yeah, we don't need to see it anymore.
I don't mind seeing them if it's done right. No?
Kind of tired of it.
I'd like to see more Uncle Ben talk in another Spider-Man movie just to see how it impacted Aunt May and how it impacted
flashback
this
type
version,
thing?
like a Flashpoint version.
Yeah. You know what's the difference between Uncle Ben and Bruce Wayne's parents dying is that Bruce Wayne's parents were always they were really quick to bite it. You know, they were really quick. It was in the first one. It was a flashback, and that was it. In Batman Begins, you saw them for a little longer, but still they bit it, and that was that. Uncle Ben, though, he has always been this prominent figure for half of the movie, and then he goes down. So I've seen enough of Uncle Ben. I could probably see Thomas and Martha Wayne dying again before I see Uncle Ben.
All right, that's probably the way to go. Let's do one more Twitter question call today.
All right, this one comes from Mike Edwards, who writes, is Michael Keaton actor of the decade at this point? He's been consistently great with or without Oscar acclaimed.
Michael Keaton is the actor of my lifetime, so it's hard to say, like, oh, he's the actor of the decade. I don't think he's the actor of the decade, though, because we've just been aware of Michael Keaton for so long. I think an actor of the decade is obviously somebody that's been prominent throughout, but it might be somebody more who is headlining movies as opposed to, like, big-time movies. So I would, like, look at somebody... maybe like McConaughey is a
Daniel
good
Day-Lewis,
like
come on.
for actor of the decade.
Yeah.
He's been in like 2 movies.
Doesn't matter. You listen. If you win 2 championships with your 2 performances, you are player of the decade. The guy is consistently. He steps on set, he wins an award because he's that good. He is absolutely. There's a reason you make such a case for it when he's going to retire because it's like. Every single time, it's like an event. He is like Jordan. He is the guy. He's the best actor of all, one of the best of all time. But as far as Keaton goes, I think Keaton could be in the top 5 or top 10 clutch actors of all time.
If
Like
you're talking about all time, yes, but if Jordan won 2 championships, he's probably not considered the greatest of all time. We're just going from 2010
yeah.
to 2020.
And
So
what,
you
he got
think
2
you
awards?
would not
1 award?
nominate Daniel Day-Lewis over like Scarlett Johansson or Chris Pratt or
Yes.
somebody who's in a bunch of huge
Yes.
movies?
Yes, you're talking about the title of actor of. As far as, are we talking movie star of? Movie star of is a different thing, but actor, absolute actor, yeah. 1 movie over 15 movies because I know what I'm getting from Daniel Day-Lewis. That 1 movie in Lincoln or whatever it was in the decade, yeah.
All right. I respect your opinion.
I'm
Somebody
going
get him a McGriddle.
Tilda Swinton, actor of the decade.
All right.
That's,
All right,
that's
Tilda
my
Swinton.
choice. But I
Who you
love
got,
Michael
Jeremy?
Keaton. So
I'm with you on the Daniel Day-Lewis argument, but it's just,
We didn't ask for taking sides.
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. You're like, no one asked you, Jahns. Yeah, it says all. Yeah, that's the comment section too. They got yours on.
They love you.
I drink your milkshake.
I would say Daniel, not Daniel Day-Lewis,
See?
but
See?
yeah. Now you're in my head. I would say Michael Keaton's the comeback of the decade. Absolutely, but actor of the decade, don't know, but
Ooh,
comeback of
that's
the
a
decade
good
for
one,
sure.
Yeah.
You know, it
All
could
right.
be in there also. Is
Clint Howard.
If you wanted to make an argument for Michael Fassbender, I would say okay because of he could do something like Magneto, but then he can flip it on your head and do something like Shame. That guy has been probably someone who was pretty much obscure for the most part, and Glorious Bastards kind of comes up, and then everyone knows who he is. So I think Michael Fassbender could be someone if you want to make right now. I would say him, Tom Hardy, people like that, or it could be. I mean, look, even, and we're not talking young up and comers. Meryl Streep could be actor of the decade because all the stuff that she has done too. So consistency and and whether or not you want to using my own thing against me, like Into the Woods, I thought was stink, and I don't think she should have been nominated for that, but she was. So other people who have jobs that I don't have nominated her. So, she could obviously, you can make the case for her.
All right, you heard it from Kristian Harloff. He thinks the actor of the decade is Gilbert Godfried. All right, that's going to be all for today's episode of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you to everybody who's helping us turn on the cameras and plug in the stuff around here, as well as my panel. Jon Schnepp, where can the kids find you?
you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter, just at Jon Schnepp. And watch Heroes later today. Woo!
Daily Heroes. Jeremy Jahns.
Oh, you can find me at Jeremy Jahns on YouTube, Twitter, rest of the internet. You can find my show Awesome Tacular on Go 90, where Ellis and I, like he said, throw pies at each other. Kristian Harloff and I talk Star Wars. Schnepp and I get nerdy with comic books. You'd love it. If you're not there, why?
Why are you not there? And Grouchy McPoopy Pants, where can everybody find you?
What are you talking? I'm not going to respond to that bullshit.
Whoa! Christian George Harloff. You can find him at Kristian Harloff and check out Jedi Cancel every Thursday.
Much better, Mrs. You can find me at Kristian Harloff, but also I want to give a give it to Ken Knapsack. If you're not watching Collider News with Ken Knapsack, for a very long time we have been privileged to watch Ken rip the news on Schmoes Know since like 2012. You guys can see it 3 times a week here on Collider. Go to the playlist, check out Collider News with Ken Knapsack. He adds his unusual spin to the latest and greatest in movie news.
Never heard of the guy, but I will definitely start checking out Ken Knapsack on Collider News. Ashley Mova, where can the kids find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And Wendy Lee.
The Movie Couple channel on YouTube, at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
I am merely Mark Ellis. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We'll have an all-new Collider Movie Talk with another all-star panel tomorrow, so tune in at 10 a.m. PST. See you guys then.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.